So the UK right now, ladies and gentlemen, is just immersed, fascinated with this whole gender debate going on, as is the rest of the world, right? Everybody's talking about it, and we're finally catching up in a very fast fashion. We're all talking about the Scotland Gender Reform Bill and how it was blocked by the UK government. Now, if you're not up to date with this whole situation, essentially, Scotland tried to pass a bill that was very concerning for a lot of people that have level heads, but in the same sentence, very with the times. The bill would have allowed people as young as 16 to change their gender, remove the need for a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria for a gender recognition certificate, and reduce the time an applicant needs to live in their acquired gender. Thankfully, as I said, that got blocked by the UK government because they had valid concerns, as did everybody else, me included, and they thought long-term instead of, well, Scotland, who tried to pass this bill, and the progressive left, because they're all upset now. Oh no, this bill isn't happening, because they just think short-term, right? They need everything passed now. They need their progressive ideologies in the mainstream, passed everywhere, regardless of the consequences and how bad they actually may be. So in the Houses of Parliament, everybody's talking about this, right? Speeches are going on left, right and centre. People are talking about why it shouldn't have been blocked, why it should be blocked, and there is a speech going viral on Twitter at the minute, not because, well, of the speech itself, but because of the reaction to the speech. A Conservative MP that goes by the name of Miriam Cates stood up in the Houses of Parliament and gave a speech that I think a lot of people in the UK resonate with, and I could completely see where she's coming from. However, she did put in some controversial things with that speech. You know, she brought up one of the most controversial points that is her own opinion, and she had facts along with that to back it up, and it's all about the exploitation of kids. She brought up women and their safe spaces, women-only spaces, and how those could be affected. She brought up the toilet situation, the changing room situations, all valid concerns, right? And she also talked about her own experience in a toilet, which I'm very surprised she even brought that up, because to say that sort of thing in public now is, well, condemned by everybody. You're not allowed to talk about it, right? So I'm just going to give her the stage, and this is what really she had to say about the whole situation.
And I think, you know, as a woman, I fully understand the threats to dignity and safety that this poses, because it will change the social contract. In this country, we recognise that in toilets, in changing rooms, in public spaces, there are areas where only women are allowed. I had an experience recently in a restaurant where a man dressed as a woman walked into the toilet, so I was on my own in the toilets. He stood behind me and stared at me into the mirror, looking at me in my eyes. Now, I have no idea if he intended me any harm, but my instinct, my evolved instinct as a woman was to be frightened, because unlike almost any other species, women are far less powerful than men. We can't defend ourselves. That's why we have, no, it's a fact. The difference in strength between men and women is phenomenal. That's why we have separate sex categories for sport. Women are evolved to be wary of men in intimate spaces. That's why we have single-sex spaces. They must continue to exist for the safety and privacy of women. This threatens that social contract.
In my opinion, isn't she just really raising valid concerns that women have? A lot of women are talking about these issues. People don't think they are, right? People think women are just accepting it because in public they're like, who cares? But behind closed doors, a lot of women are talking about this. They just don't say it in public because they're scared to be branded a TERF like J.K. Rowling, right? The physicality issue within the bathroom, changing rooms, and even prisons is a big thing. We all know the situations that can occur. The left, the progressive left, don't want you to know or remember that men are actually physically stronger than women. That's another thing we're trying to erase. This speech did offend a lot of people, apparently, especially one Labour MP that goes by the name of Lloyd Russell-Moyle. He wasn't too happy, and as always, when somebody isn't too happy, especially from the left, they tend to let their emotions, their feelings, get the better of them. I think if you're up to date with this situation, you've seen this, but if you're not, this just kind of explains UK politics at the minute. Take a listen.
Goodness me, that speech was probably one of the worst transphobic dog whistle speeches that I've heard in an awful long time. The idea of linking trans people with predators, frankly, is disgusting, and you should be ashamed.
No, calm down. Yes.
No.
Lloyd Russell-Moyle.
Way to you, or anyone else, to the honourable member, Now, on the substance of this, ignoring that horrible speech that we have just heard. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is difficult when we're talking about these emotional matters, but the reality of this is, this Section 35 is the new Tories' Section 28. It is their continuation of a war against a group of people, their culture war, that they want to pursue. And they think it will advantage them in the polls. That's what the Australian Conservatives thought as well. That's what the Republicans in the US thought. But I trust it will not, because the people do not like the bigotry that we hear from the other side. So, it is bigotry. I will give way. It is bigotry what we just heard. Going into a toilet or a public facility or a refuge is not contingent on a certificate at all. So all of those arguments are bogus. And to continue a bogus argument, knowing that it is bogus, is, I'm afraid, a form of bigotry.
Well, I mean, it's good he's passionate about something, right? A lack of passion is something we face in UK politics, right? I'm tired of listening to robots read off a script. However, it's just a shame what he's passionate about is harming a lot of women, in fact, all women. It's funny to me how he just ignores all the points that woman made, right? And instead of, countering back, bringing up other points, bringing up facts maybe, he goes straight for the buzzwords. Oh no, this is transphobic. This is all bigotry. And that's the only leg really progressive leftists have to stand on, right? Because they just throw these buzzwords in the air and they stick because they have more power than freedom of speech and nobody knows how to react to it. Women's safety is a big thing in the UK right now. So it's kind of ironic to me how he ignores that, because her safety issues, which are all issues for all women, go against the narrative and then it's not acceptable to talk about. Imagine if this was the other way around, right? A different debate, different scenario. Would this man not be condemned on social media for being misogynistic and sexist because he shouted and spoke over a woman? But because, as I said, he's speaking for these progressive ideologies, then that narrative is completely disregarded and it no longer matters. They want short-term happiness for potentially long-term pain. And it's okay to have your views on this. It's okay to be passionate about this. But you need to realize what you're advocating for, because if you give people an inch, they then take a mile. Right? It's very strange to me how we focus on women's safety in one regard, but as I said, if it goes against progressive movements, then we don't talk about it. Then, you're not allowed to speak about these things. I think what she stood up for is valid. I applaud this woman. And a lot of women actually feel the same. If you go onto Twitter right now, a lot of women are happy she stood up for them. Apparently as well, this man was so offended by what this woman said. Allegedly, he went and sat next to her and just stared at her to try and intimidate her. Now, I don't know if that is completely true. There was a picture just on your screen, right? And that's the rumor going around on social media. But doesn't that just show you how emotional leftists are? And this also is another thing that happens when you feminize men. They become weak, they become emotional. If this was a conservative politician, this would be everywhere. This would be on all the headlines, in all the newspapers, but because he's part of the darling left, he's a Labour politician, nobody wants to talk about it. It's interesting how these things all just work, isn't it? But what are your opinions on this, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think this woman was in the right to say what she said? Do you think the dude was a little bit emotional? I would like to know. If you have enjoyed today's video, then please, for me, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that big red subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. But until next time, it has been your boy JD. Please, for me, make sure to always have a great day and stay safe. I'm out. Peace.